everyone, and welcome back to HR Talks with Leash, a channel aiming to motivate, inspire, and elevate HR interns, professional students, and graduates, helping you to flourish within your careers. Join me on this journey to success as a HR professional, finding her way within the industry and rising to the top. If you're new here, then welcome to the HR Talks with Leash community, and please can you like, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell so that you're always notified every single time I post a video. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. So in today's video, as you can see, I'm joined by a special guest, Emily Green, who has kindly joined us for the first episode in the series that I've started called Let's Talk Entry-Level HR. So Emily is a 22-year-old who has recently studied a master's in human resource management at Aston University, and she's gained employment in human resources within the legal sector as a learning and development assistant. So the aim of this series is to learn more about the experiences of HR students, interns, and also young professionals, and just to learn about their career journeys and experiences. So if you are interested in joining me on this series at all, then please comment down below or send me a message on my socials, because I really want this to be a space for our community to share from one another. So thank you so much, Emily, for joining us today. I'm actually really excited for this interview. So I just want to start from the beginning and just go back to when you were in secondary school and you were thinking of choosing your options for sixth form and college. Was HR at the forefront of your mind? And when did you decide that you wanted to go into HR?
Yeah, so when I was actually in sixth form, HR, law, nothing like that was an option at all for us. So I actually did psychology, geography, and philosophy and ethics. So I basically chose what I enjoyed really, but it wasn't at the forefront of my mind back then. Sort of going into law was sort of coming into my mind, because obviously I did that at undergraduate degree level in the end. But really it wasn't something that I was looking at doing at all. I was just picking what I enjoyed really, and what I knew I was sort of good at, just to be able to actually get to university in the first place. So yeah, it wasn't something really that was in my mind at all.
So when did you decide then that you wanted to go into HR? What was it that made you feel like that was the path you wanted to go down?
Yeah, so like I said, obviously I went into doing law at undergraduate level, and obviously because of the pandemic, I finished my degree sort of in uncertain times, and that's when I really decided to look at sort of further opportunities within education, and the postgraduate degree was one of the things that I looked into. So that was really when I first started looking at doing human resources management. I really enjoyed doing employment law in the last year of my university degree. So that was one of the sort of main things, because I sort of realised if I'm liking that, I don't want to go down the traditional legal route. I didn't want to do my LPC or anything like that. So actually doing a master's in something like that was going to give me sort of more business skills into getting a career into it, because obviously when anyone looks for a job, they're always needing experience in the sector or just some kind of basic knowledge. So that's why I thought that'd be sort of a great thing to do really.
That's great. That is really great. And do you think that your degree gave you the skills and necessities to go into the HR field?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it gives you sort of a basic level understanding of obviously what you need to go into HR, for example. I think there's a variety of modules. I think on your channel you spoke about sort of the different ways and different modules that Aston do. And obviously, like I said, I've gone into learning development, and learning development was actually one of the modules on the master's course. So I think it does give you a basic sort of level understanding of what you need. But I think I've sort of spoken and touched with you before is the fact that when you do your degree, you are learning all the theory, and it's a lot of theory. So obviously when I went and did a placement, so I did that at a GP surgery practice, I was just sort of, yeah, it was a bit of an eye-opening experience, because you don't actually learn that kind of thing, how to draft a contract for somebody,
Yeah,
how to give a
exactly.
HR induction. So yeah, I think it's the experience is definitely what you need to get on top of the basic level understanding of the masters. But I think doing the actual degree does give you that sort of base level understanding. And I've got to say, I used a lot of experience that I've got from uni in my interviews to get my roles post sort of degree. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
So just touching on the experience part that you just mentioned, what kind of experience did you get? Because I know you said you worked in the GP practice, but
Yeah.
was there any like unpaid experiences that you had to go into, or like paid experiences?
Yeah, so I definitely sort of took on all the opportunities that I could do in my sort of postgraduate degree. So I was a student representative, so that was sort of speaking on behalf of the students of the course, which I think you also did as well, if that's
Yes,
correct.
yes, I did.
Yeah, so I found that a really great experience. I don't know about you, but it was really good, because I had to chair a meeting the one time. So that was really good, because it was helping me able to communicate with different levels of different people. I was also on the mentoring scheme as well. So this was all unpaid voluntary things.
Mhm.
And although they're not linked to HR, I think they're sort of great opportunities to take up, because it does give you the skills that you need then to go into the HR world. And obviously, like I said, I did my volunteer placement, so it was an unpaid placement, and it was volunteering. So I generally did about 2 to 3 days a week with them. It was good because it was quite flexible. I could do the hours that I wanted to do,
Mm.
but also I could help them as much as they needed. And then towards the end of my placement, I did gain an actual role as a HR coordinator with them. So I then was actually getting paid for the role, but obviously take on a little bit more responsibility. But I was there with them for about 6 months. So by the time I got that role, I was sort of ready to take on more responsibility. I knew everything that was happening in the organisation. So yeah, that was unpaid for most of the part. So not paid at all.
Right, okay, yeah. So this is the thing that I'm glad you touched on, because I think sometimes, even though, would prefer paid opportunities, like taking any kind of opportunity that you can just to gain a bit of experience to then, hopefully get to that paid experience at some point, I think is really important. Because I've also spoke about this as well on some of my videos, that I did a few unpaid placements when I was at Aston, and that actually helped me to, articulate myself in the interviews for getting my paid internship, which I was at, and which turned into
Yeah.
a promotion opportunity, and now I'm working my way up. So I really like resonate with the fact that you also did that as well. I just feel like taking any opportunity is the best thing that you can do, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say to people, don't let it being unpaid put you off.
Yeah.
You have to work harder, I've got to say that. So I obviously had a part-time job alongside doing my unpaid placements to be able to just sort of fund life in
Yeah,
general.
so did I.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't let it put you off, because I think because it's unpaid, it motivates you more then to get the paid job at the end of it, because you think, I've worked so hard, I've learned all these things. It really makes you want to get sort of that paid opportunity at the end. And I think everyone has to go through it. I think at the time you think, oh, I'm the only one in this like place at the time, but everyone has to do it. And like you said, after we've spoken, we've both had to take on those opportunities, and it's worked out in the
It
end.
has worked
So
out because we're both in like, great positions at the moment, early on
yeah,
in our careers, which I think is great. Yeah.
no, definitely.
So did you have any kind of HR experience before doing your degree at all?
No, so none at all really. Obviously within my law degree we did employment law, so I sort of knew a basic level understanding of like the Equality Act 2010, stuff like that, but it was nothing really that was too heavily applicable. Things like the protected characteristics is something that I found were highlighted when I was doing my placements in HR. But I'd gained legal experience because in my undergraduate degree, I thought I was going to go down the traditional legal route.
Yeah.
So I did sort of, smaller placements, sort of smaller solicitors, and then larger sort of law firms. So yeah, no actual HR experience, but I was able to get onto the course, and I think also doing my undergraduate degree at Aston did help, because obviously the sort of transition into postgraduate studies is a little bit easier, I suppose, compared to if you're having to sort of apply for actual universities. So I'm not sure if that's something that you had to do as well.
Yeah, it was. I think it was definitely easy to transition, just because as well so I know that you did legal in your undergrad, but I did psychology. So I feel like those the subjects that we've done kind of correlate in specific ways to HR anyway. So when I was like writing my personal statement, because the personal statement is a bit shorter than, I don't know if this was the same for you, but it's a bit shorter than the one that you write for your undergrad. But I feel like I was able to, use experiences from my degree, just from research as well that I was doing, because I wanted to go into HR, to articulate that and then just send off my application. And I was able to get an unconditional offer as when I sent off my application. I don't know if you got the same as well. But yeah, I think the transition was quite easy. I would say as well that, like, because you've done 3 years at uni already, you've kind of got experiences as to how to work your way through like the masters. Because it's not, I'm not saying it's like easy, like, because it wasn't easy, but I feel like you've already got some kind of skills already that you can just transition into. It's not like when you first go into uni and you've never like done uni before and you've got to kind of like find your way into how to do it. So yeah, I think it was an easy transition for me as well.
Yeah, I'd second that. I think you sort of, from your undergraduate degree, you learn the skills of being able to work in teams. Like, I did quite a lot of group projects, so that kind of transitioned into doing my postgraduate degree. The only thing that I'd probably say was that it is a lot more independent. You don't get as supported. There's support there, but if you want it, you have to reach out for it, and that's something that I probably found the hardest, because I wasn't used to it really. But no, definitely, I love my degree, doing my postgraduate degree, and loved Aston in general. It was the perfect sort of university for me.
Same. I think it was great for me as well. And just touching on like the support and stuff at uni, did you reach out to like any careers advisors while you was at uni, to help you to kind of think about what you wanted to do after uni and things?
So I spoke to my personal tutor. So I think that's it. That probably happens at most universities. You have like a sole person that's kind of in your department to help you. So I kind of reached out to them for them to give me some advice. So they were more sort of academic professionals that were giving advice really, and saying their experiences and how they got to where they wanted to today. But I did use a careers and placement team at Aston as well, and they were super helpful. They sort of reviewed CVs for me, spoke about opportunities, and obviously they send out a whole host of resources weekly and monthly about the different opportunities. For me, I gained my placement through LinkedIn. So it was a post that I'd seen, and I sort of just went for it. And again, the opportunity that I have got now was through LinkedIn, but I feel like having those opportunities of the careers and placements team and them sharing their knowledge and all the opportunities is invaluable, because they've got so many connections with different organisations to sort of help all of us. So I think you can sit in a hole and you can think, oh, I'm never going to get the opportunity, but there's that many out there now, and they can be virtual, they could be in person. So there's so many opportunities for people to take up.
Yeah, definitely. And like, as you said, how you found your placement on LinkedIn, that was exactly like me as well. I found my internship on LinkedIn too. And I feel like the careers advisors were very like, influential in that, because they basically told me about different ways to reach out to people as well on LinkedIn. Because I know sometimes, you know, we all think if I'm applying for a job, you know, I need to do an application, but sometimes actually reaching out to an employer is also another way, you know, that you can find an opportunity, because they might not be advertising at the company on LinkedIn. If you reach out to them, you might they might say, do you know what, like, you know, we've got a place for you to do a bit of work here or there. So there's so many different ways to be, you know, like find jobs. I think we've got to think outside the box. And I think a lot of people don't actually even have a LinkedIn profile.
I've heard that a lot of my friends, obviously when I started getting more active on LinkedIn, they were like, you actually use it. So I think for a lot of people it's like, I think the fear of using it maybe, and how to use it effectively and properly. But since I got my placement, I was sort of like, right, this is a great sort of platform to use. It's very professional, but also there's a lot of advice that you can get off there. Like you said, either connecting with people and just messaging them, or just reading people's posts about their experiences. It can sometimes like trigger something in your mind to think, oh, I could try and do that, or that looks like a great opportunity.
That's so true. But I know that it has been quite a difficult time in general, though, to, you know, find opportunities and jobs, even though they're out there. It's been difficult. I mean, even with COVID happening as well, I know I had a lot of setbacks in trying to find positions. So I was just wondering, how was your job search experience within like the COVID period?
Yeah, so it was quite a strange one for me. I sort of knew that I wanted to get an opportunity after I'd sort of finished my master's. And I sort of was just looking on LinkedIn, because I use the LinkedIn job function as well. So where you can say human resources assistant or human resources administrator. So yeah, obviously I'd sort of got a role, but it was a part-time role as the HR coordinator at my placement. So I suppose I was feeling a little bit more secure in the fact that I did have a job at the time and it was in HR. So if I needed to stay in that role for a little bit longer, I could do, even if it was part-time. But I think I was quite motivated to sort of get a role that fit me a little bit more, because obviously I did a generalist HR placement, but I was looking for something more tailored, which obviously that's how I got my role in learning development. And I actually applied for that on LinkedIn as a job. And the application process was pretty simple, to be honest, really fluid, really easy. And I think the organisation that I'm with now, Trowers, they made it easy and simple. So yeah, I think it's just getting your name out to different places. I did sort of use recruitment consultants as well and agencies, so putting my name out to them, and I sort of got calls about different jobs and what was available. So I think it is just making yourself known to different organisations, just being active, like I use LinkedIn, and yeah, just trying to use as many different platforms as possible, really.
Yeah, I think that that's so important. And I think that's the same thing that I tried to do as well, like use as many platforms as I can. So as you said, LinkedIn was a big factor for me, and I tried to use that as much as I possibly could. But also with the grad roles as well, there was like a few like websites that I tried to check out. So I think one's called like prospects.ac.uk, and there's like a few others too where they like promote grad schemes. So I actually looked at those, because I was trying to find a graduate position at first, but I think going down the application route for that, because there's so many different stages, like you have to take tests and then assessment centres, that was quite difficult to do. And I did get rejected from every single grad scheme that I actually applied for, which was kind of it kind of sets you back a little bit, because it's kind of like, am I going to get something? But I think what is really important, and I feel like you also had this quality too, was like perseverance and just trying and trying again. Like if you know you've got one setback, it's okay, like you can learn from that and then try again. So I think that's why as well I tried to like look on LinkedIn a lot more than I did, because before I was literally just looking for HR grad. So I know that you said that you was looking for HR like admin and stuff like that. I wasn't even thinking like that at first, because I was thinking that's not what I wanted to do. But I think sometimes you have to be more open-minded, especially in those difficult times, where it was very hard to find positions because people were just being let go of in COVID anyway. So like, you know, searching for admin, intern, placements, coordinator, and even maybe exploring different like roles within HR, because those are quite generalist, also is helpful. And I think I looked for like learning development roles like towards the end of like my job search before I got my internship as well. So I think it's just all about being you know, flexible and open-minded and also optimistic as well. Yeah.
I say that. I think we sort of touched on it when speaking before, that sort of when you come out of your degree, you're thinking, right, I can get into advisor level now. And it's like,
exactly.
Yeah, in your mind, you think, right, I'm qualified for it, but the experience is like second to none. Like my placement experience set me up for the role that I'm in now, even though it's slightly different. And I think it's all about working your way up. It's not, I think that's the thing, you come out of uni and you think, oh, is it going to be a bit of a failure if I go in as like an admin or an assistant? But it's totally not. It's what you need to build upon. You can't just go in at the high level. You need to sort of work your way up. So yeah, that's one of the main tips I would think. Just look for as many opportunities, like you said, use different words, different job titles when you're searching, and really try and find what you're wanting to go into, because I think that's what made it easier for me. I was sort of able to whittle down that I sort of wanted to go into learning development and the training side of HR rather than generalist roles. But then if you are looking for generalist roles, you're best looking for HR administrator, coordinator, assistant, things like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So true. And, you know, I just think, as you've said as well, like looking and exploring and not thinking, you know, I need to go into an advisor or a manager level straight away. I think you have to be that open-minded, because, you know, we got level 7. Well, I got my level 7 qualification. And at first I was even thinking, oh, you know, level 7, that means, you know, I should be doing a manager role or something. And I feel like if you don't have the experience, like how can you go into that kind of role? I feel that you have to start from the bottom, as you said, and work your way to that role, because over time, like, you know, you will get to that level. I think the degree that we did, it's not necessarily like equipping you to be a manager, it's just giving you that the knowledge. But then obviously, like, we need to make sure that we're using that knowledge in the practical world first. So yeah, I think that that's so important, like really, really important. But I just wanted to also touch on, because I know when we spoke before, you said that you finished the first few terms of your degree, but then you didn't finish the dissertation yet. But did you want to just go into a bit more detail about that?
Yeah, of course. So obviously I started my degree in September 2020. I always get the date wrong for that.
So do I.
So I started my postgraduate degree then. And obviously, because of masters, it is such a whirlwind. I don't know how you found it, because it's a year.
Oh, it was a lot.
To sit so much in that year. So obviously I did my first teaching term, which is normally September to December, and then I did my second one, which is sort of the end of Jan till probably about March, April time.
Yeah, around that time.
So I finished both of those, and obviously in Feb 2021 I gained my placement, so my volunteer placement. So I started that and I was really enjoying it, and I think getting the experience from that, like you said and I've touched upon, was just invaluable. So I was really trying to put my time and effort into that. I sort of started, obviously you have to do your business proposal and all things like that for your dissertation, so I did start doing that. But what I found was I was then starting to sort of job search at the same time. Obviously secured the role that I am in now, and just felt a bit sort of overwhelmed with having to finish my dissertation. And I've got to say, really back then, I didn't know what the options were, if you just couldn't go any further because you hadn't finished it, or what to do. So I contacted uni, and I'm actually on a period of absence with uni. So then that means I can go back and actually finish my dissertation stage at a later date if I'd like to. So I've got until next year to do that. And if not, I can actually take a postgraduate diploma, which is sort of 2/3 of a master's. So you've got all the teaching credits, you just haven't done the dissertation stage. And I think that's so useful to know, because I didn't know that you could even do that.
Even I didn't know you could do that. So that's really useful to know, because I think a lot of people believe that, you know, there's only kind of one way to go through uni. Sometimes it's just, you know, you start and you have to finish. But actually, I think now, you know, we're in a time where you can do things in different ways. It doesn't have to be in the exact order that you think it has to be. So the fact that you've got the opportunity to go back to uni and, you know, do your dissertation, and, you know, you really enjoyed your placement, and that was kind of what really, you know, took your kind of attention more, is a really good opportunity. And the fact that Aston as well is really flexible with that. I'm not sure how other unis do it, but I think that's really amazing. Yeah,
and I think just reaching out for the support, like I was so scared to reach out and think, oh gosh, people think that I'm a bit of a failure because I've not completed that stage. But I think it's just putting things into priority and focus. And at that time, the job role come available, and it was just something that I thought, I can't miss this opportunity. And I think, you've just don't feel anxious about speaking to people, because I'm sure the people at university get so many questions from people, and that's their job to help you and support you. So I can't thank sort of the team at Aston enough, because they sort of showed me the options that I did have, and it meant that then I could focus on starting my actual new role that I'm in now. So it's worked out perfectly.
That's great. So just touching on your role now, I just wanted to go into like more of like the day-to-day kind of activities that you do and things. But before we go into that, did you start your role off virtually, or was it in person? And how did you feel on like your first week of your role?
So obviously my role is learning development assistant, and most of my team are actually based in our London offices. So we do have a small HR team. Obviously we're part of the wider HR team, but some people sit in Birmingham, which is where I'm at. And so my first week was fully virtual, really. So they've tailored their sort of induction process to be online and virtual, which was quite helpful in a way, because you have the nerves of starting a new job, but you can sort of take it at your own pace because you're at home. So you don't have that first nerves of going and having to meet everybody on the first day, which was good. And then obviously my team in Birmingham then said we'll sort of go into the office, because at the time that I started, people were starting to go back into the office, but a policy sort of wasn't in place of sort of hybrid working at that stage. So we went in the following Wednesday, I think it was, and sort of I met everyone that was in the Birmingham office. We went out for some lunch, and it was just really lovely, because I felt settled at that point to start meeting people. And I know that's not something that would happen at every organisation, but the way that it happened for me was quite nice. And then I actually met my immediate team probably a month into being at Trowers. So I'd worked with my team virtually for about a month. And then we was able to sort of meet the whole HR team doing the HR social in London a month down the line. So it's been a weird start. I think my placement was fully in the office. So for me, doing things virtually was quite scary, a bit apprehensive about things, especially because I really hate technology. So having to set up my laptop and everything was just, not the best. But they equipped us so well, sort of working virtually, working at home, and I had all the support there that was needed. So it was quite a smooth transition.
Oh, that's great then. It's great to hear. And just touching on like how you basically started virtually and things. So I know that, you know, before COVID, starting virtually wasn't really a thing as much as it is now. So in terms of getting settled in and kind of getting used to things whilst it was virtual, do you feel like you like had the support from your team? Were you able to, you know, contact them like easily? Because obviously when you're in person, it's kind of like you can turn next to them like at the desk and
Yeah.
ask for help. So like, how was that like dynamic?
Yeah, so I was really lucky actually. So in my second interview stage, I actually got to meet my team. So that was something that they sort of incorporated into the interview process. So I sort of knew faces before I started.
Right, okay.
Which was, I think, really good, because then you know who's in your team and who you're going to be sort of speaking to. And then sort of a week before I did start, I actually had an informal catch up with my manager and also the rest of the team, which really helped me, because you could speak about the different projects that were happening and what sort of you was actually going into doing before actually starting the role, which was really good. Obviously the first few days was really heavily sort of IT focused, compliance training, but also I sort of had daily catch-ups with my manager, and he'd speak through different things. We'd probably have like hour calls, and he'd just speak through different things. And then in terms of learning my actual job role, we did Zooms, and Sarah and Shannara, who are in my team, they shared their screen, so I was sort of able to see what was happening, how to use the different systems, what the processes were. And I feel like I was really supported. So they'd let me do something and then say, do you want to send it over for approval and we'll check through it, which I really enjoyed, because I like to sort of get stuck into things and do it. But obviously you want the approval and to make sure that you're actually doing the right thing. So yeah, I think I'm really lucky, because I've gone into an organisation and just such a great team that supported me throughout the whole process. But I think, yeah, like I said, that's down to what they've actually put in place and listening to sort of others' experiences as well.
That's great. No, that's great to hear, because you really do want to make sure that, you know, you feel comfortable in an environment when you're going into a new work environment, and the fact that the culture you know, seems that it's very welcoming will obviously make you feel that, you know, you can settle in quite quickly, which is great. So it's great to hear that you've got such a supportive team.
Yeah.
So I know that you work in the field as a learning and development assistant. So how does it feel to have like a job in the field now?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. And like I think I've touched on, like I said, my team is so supportive. So although I'm in an assistant role, they're also involving me in lots of different projects that we've got. So we have different training programs. I do post on LinkedIn a lot of the time about sort of the business skills and wellbeing programs that we do. So yeah, I think being involved was the main thing for me, and just getting to know everything to do with the firm, the different projects that we do, the initiatives. So yeah, no, it's been great, and I think that was one of the main things that I really wanted to do, was to learn everything about sort of the organisation and what was happening. But obviously I do have sort of my daily tasks that I have to do alone, sort of more on the admin side.
So
I think you just learn that.
What does a day as a learning development assistant look like, and can you just go into a little bit more detail about day-to-day tasks?
Yeah, so Outlook is my baby. So we obviously have like a learning development calendar. So that has all of our training sessions across the different departments. So obviously, because we're in the legal sector, we have different departments such as real estate, corporate, banking and finance. So all of them have training sessions and programs. And then learning development have their own sort of training programs. So like I said, business skills, wellbeing. So I'm in charge of all the admin side of that. So getting attendance reports from the training, editing, uploading videos from them. And then my other side is sort of helping out with the training sessions. I also sort of look after the firm's memberships, if people want to go on external training events. And like I said, getting involved in the different projects that we do have as well. So yeah, it's really sort of quite spread out really, and
Yeah.
I get to do a lot of different things. No days the same. It's sort of answering queries, also to do with the compliance side of things as well. So making sure new starters are enrolled on their training courses, making sure they complete them. So yeah, it's really interesting.
That's great. And I know that when we spoke before, you touched on that you were recently promoted, and now you kind of you focus a lot on I think it was the apprenticeships kind of stuff within your
Yeah.
role.
Yeah, so I've not actually started this role yet, so it's
Right,
going to be
okay.
sort of the start of December. But yeah, so I'm moving. So there's a bit of a different structure that we're taking in the team. So I'm obviously still going to be sort of learning development assistant, but I'm going to be looking after the apprenticeship side of things. And also sort of the wider training and different projects and initiatives. So yeah, it's really interesting because I'm going to be able to delve into different bits of learning development. And I think for me, it's such a great role to sort of step into and take on a few different aspects, because it's more hybrid. So it's a lot of learning development, but also more sort of the HR generalist side as well. So making sure people who are on the apprenticeship programs are sort of coached, helped, and sort of taking them from the start to the end of their apprenticeship journeys. So I'm really excited to get started doing that.
Yeah.
It'll be a really interesting role to sort of get into. So yeah, hopefully it goes well.
Great. Well, I wish you the best of luck in the new role that you're taking on within the
Thank
apprenticeship. It sounds very exciting, so that's great.
you.
So do you have any goals as to how you want to progress in your role for the future?
Yeah, so I suppose for me, sort of the progression has started a little bit sooner probably than I expected in my role. So obviously I'm taking on sort of different aspects within learning development, which is great because I think when you go into learning development, there's a whole host of things that you can go into, especially like generalist HR. So me being able to sort of dip my toes into different areas is really great because I can see what I love. Obviously, there's probably going to be areas that you don't love as much, but that's how you find out what you really love doing. So yeah, sort of going into those different roles is going to be really helpful. So in terms of my development, I suppose I'm at the start of my development now in my journey. But being at Trowers, I've really sort of realised that I love the firm and I feel like it's a firm that I would love to develop myself in. So yeah, there's different roles obviously within the different departments, within my department. And I think just taking every month as it comes, learning and just taking and sharing knowledge with everybody is the main thing for me, because personally that's how I feel like I develop myself the most, is learning from others and just learning how different people do things, how they liaise with different people, how they communicate with others. So yeah, I never like to put a cap on my development. I think
That's
it's
a
sort
good
of
thing. Yeah,
just keeping on going, and just if an opportunity comes, putting yourself in there, and just keeping on going really.
Great. So do you have any advice for HR students that may be looking for roles after graduating?
Yeah, so one of my main things is just get the experience, because I think without that it's going to be tough to get a job. I think that's one of the main things for everybody going into any sort of role. It's you need the experience to get the job role. And I think other than experience, for me it was finding the right organisation that I fit into well. So I was offered a couple of other roles, but when I looked at the organisation, it just wasn't the right fit for me. But as soon as I saw Trowers, where I'm at now, it was the perfect fit for me. The culture, just everything about the firm was what I sort of wanted. So I think it's when you're at the end stage, it's finding the perfect firm for you, and don't feel too disheartened if it takes a little bit longer either, because it's not always a smooth journey. You can make it seem like it's been a smooth journey, but I don't think anyone's is really. So yeah, it's just being honest with yourself as well. I think be honest with your own development, what you want to do, and just keep on going. I think that's the main thing, just persevere. I think that's one of the key words that's come out of this, just persevere, and for everything.
So speaking of keywords, I wanted to ask if you can tell me one word to describe your journey from a HR student to your role now.
I think perseverance.
Yeah.
Just that's probably the main thing. It's you're gonna have little setbacks and things in your journey that don't work as well, but it's just keeping on going and just trying to find that great opportunity at the end, because there's always going to be the opportunity. You've just got to find the perfect one for you.
That's so amazing. Thanks, Emily. And that's basically the end of the interview now. But I really enjoyed speaking to you. Thank you so much for coming onto the channel and sharing your experiences, because I really feel that this will help other people on their journeys to understand what the experience at uni is like, but also like when you get into a new role, how that process is as well. So thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you so much.
So yeah, that's the end of the video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. And if you've got any questions for me or Emily, please drop them down below in the comment box. Emily, is anyone like able to connect with you on LinkedIn if they wanted to?
Yeah, of course. So I'm just Emily Green on LinkedIn. I'll give you my sort of details. But if anyone wants to connect or speak about anything, just reach out to me.
That's great. Well, thank you. And that's the end of the video, everyone. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.